Wales squad for the Six Nations 2021. That's how the squads are coming out thick and fast now. Wales is the next one on my list. I know England's already out as well, but Wales came out first. So let's have a look at the Welsh squad. The sun is pouring in, man. It's bleeding hot. There's no good air movement in this room. But I hope you guys are all doing well up in the Northern Hemisphere or wherever you're at, to be fair. And yeah, it's an interesting squad. I've had a look through it. I've watched Wayne Pivac's interview on some of the guys, why he's chosen some of them, why he's cut some. It's always hard to find a full list of exactly who is like injured and who's just not considered. But if you guys do know of any guys who I don't mention, or if I've got a question mark on whether they're injured or not, do drop that in the comments as well. That's always really much appreciated. But yeah, it's maybe a bit of a slightly more experienced side in some areas from the looks. I get the feeling Pivac has to win soon, because last year was a bit of a write-off. There was a bit of experimentation. I'm not entirely sold on some of the guys who've been cut, some of the guys who were blooded and then have been since withdrawn. I kind of would have thought some of these guys, at least one or two names, would have had another chance. But anyway, it is what it is. We'll go through the squad. You guys can let me know your thoughts. So props: Leon Brown, Reece Carey, Thomas Francis, Rodri Jones, Wyn Jones, Dylan Lewis. So I think it's only Rodri Jones who is the addition to the slot. I think Samson Lee was in the squad previously, but I think otherwise it's pretty much par for the course. Reece Carey is obviously the youngest one at 22. Leon Brown still, I guess, at international level, he's not a novice, but he's only 12 caps, so he's still kind of coming along. The wind I just said doesn't exist, has just blown the door open, so maybe I'm telling lies. But yeah, it's an area that they'll need to do well. Scrum time, it's not been an area that Wales, goodness me, apologies for that, have exactly been bossing in recent times. That's an area you need to get right. I know there's a bit of criticism of Reece Carey at times on his fitness. That's come up a bit, so that'll be an interesting one to watch. But overall, you got a bunch of guys in their late 20s, all of whom have got a couple of guys in the early, like I mentioned, Brown and Reece Carey, but all of them are 10 plus caps. Thomas Francis is in the 50s, Wyn Jones 30, Dylan Lewis 28. So yeah, it's not exactly an inexperienced front row lineup for the prop side. Anyway, hookers, you've got Elliot D, Ryan Elias, and Ken Owens returns to the fold, is what I mentioned about a return to some experience. 34-year-old Sheriff is back in the squad, and as much as I like seeing the young guys to get blooded, having Ken Owens in the squad is never going to not put a smile on my face. So that's a pretty welcome return. I haven't seen him play for a very long time, so I don't know what kind of form he's in, how long he's been back from injury, but it's certainly happy days to see him back. I know Sam Parry was in the squad prior, but if I'm not mistaken, he has picked up an injury. Do correct me if that one is mistaken. But yeah, pretty experienced hookers, 33 caps, 17 caps, and 77 caps respectively. So there's not exactly any excuses for inexperience there. Locks: Jake Ball, Adam Baird, Corey Hill, Alan Wyn Jones, and Will Rowlands. Alan Wyn Jones, captain, 35, coming back from his knee injury as well. I don't know how much rugby he's been playing of late, but you still back the legend to pick up for the games. Jake Ball was maybe a bit of a surprising one, given that he's leaving for Australia, so he will soon be out of the fold for Wales. But that did come up in the interview with Wayne Pivac, where he basically used the line that they need to win now, and he's one of their better players, so why not pick him? So yeah, 49 caps, 29 years old. I always get him confused with Adam Baird, at least prior anyway, because Adam Baird's the guy without the beard, and Jake Ball's the guy with the big beard. So go figure. But certainly, again, in terms of experience, I mean, Will Rowlands is your least experienced guy at the international level with only 5 caps. The rest of these guys, Adam Baird's the least experienced with 21. So not exactly spring chicken, lots of experience. And that seems to be a theme throughout the 4-pack for the most part, to be fair. I mean, Will Rowlands, 29. Again, not as much international experience, but he's a bit of a veteran on the rugby scene. Loose forwards is a return to Dan Lydiate. Josh McLeod is the only uncapped guy in the squad. Josh Navidi, Justin Tipuric, Talupe Falatau, and Aaron Wainwright. So there's still Heaps of depth in Welsh rugby in the loose, which is not a bad thing. I was a bit disappointed to see no James Botham and no Shane Lewis-Hughes. I would have expected to see at least one of them. As far as I'm aware, neither is injured, and I believe from memory, I did watch it yesterday, that did come up in Pivac's conference as well, and he basically said they've both got things to work on. I thought they were both pretty good from memory of what I saw of them. I haven't been watching the Pro 14 teams enough to know how these guys are going at that level, but yeah, it's a bit gutting. But I mean, good chance for Josh McLeod. I haven't seen much of him either, so if he's a good prospect, 24 years old, uncapped player, be interesting to see how much he gets in terms of minutes. He's got a very experienced bunch around him. Faletau, 81 caps, 30 years old. Tipperick, 31, 80 caps. Lydiate, 33 years old, 62 caps. I'm a big fan of Dan Lydiate as well. But I've always got my mind on that next World Cup, and at 33, he's got a couple more years in him to go to a World Cup. It's potentially a thing, but I mean, both of them at 22 and Lewis-Hughes at 23 are guys that I would also like to be seeing taking that next step up as well. But anyway, certainly some class. And Faletau, from what I've seen of him in recent times, has been in the absolute form of his life, hasn't he? Back to his best. Like, there was a period after he came back from numerous injuries where it looked like he was a bit past it, but no longer. He seems to be properly back and properly informed. So the average age of the forwards is around about 28 years old, which is like a year older than the Scottish pack. There's not a heap of guys under 25. Reece Carey, Leon Brown, Adam Beard is 25, and Josh McLeod's 24, Wainwright 23, but he's experienced with 27 caps, so it's experienced. I said that at the start. I'm saying it again. There's a few more young guns in the backs, which is maybe to be expected. The backs often hit their straps a bit earlier than the forwards do, and often they go off the pace. They lose their pace sooner than the forwards do. It's more crucial to their role, right? There's a lot of guys you see hit 28 and they kind of don't manage to maintain that level. So that's just a thing. But for the backs for Wales, you got Gareth Davis, Kieran Hardy, and Thomas Williams as your scrum halves. Thomas Williams is back in the squad. If I'm not mistaken, he was injured last year. That's why he didn't make the squad, so it's a return for him. Reece Webb is the big omission that was largely talked about. And Pivac in his interview basically said he doesn't think he's got the same top-end pace that he used to have, and his passing hasn't been accurate enough. So he's given him work-ons, but he's by no means closed the door on him at international level. It seems like it's been a fair rotation amongst the guys at number 9 in Wales for a while. Like, for a lot of teams, you've got a clear number 1, a clear number 2, and then the rest. But Wales, I feel like it could still go through a few of these guys. Hardy is the least experienced guy with 2 caps. Davis has got 57. Lloyd Williams was in the squad for this Older Nations Cup as well. He has not made the side. Dan Biggar, Jared Evans, and Callum Sheedy are you guys who are going to be running the show as your playmakers. There's no Reece Priestland. I believe there was some complications about getting him out of his, because he plays in the Premiership. There's always a bit of difficulties getting those guys out of their contracts to play for teams other than England, right? So I believe that was a bit in the way. I think Reece Patchell's still coming back from, is it concussions? Seems to be a thing, but he's not in the squad. Callum Sheedy is a good one. I mean, I've been seeing him play quite a bit for Bristol, and he's been electric. Dan Biggar still continues to frustrate people in terms of his arm waving. I know even Wales fans get frustrated with him at times, but you can't argue with him as a player. At 31, again, it's the time where you got to make the question, is he the guy for the next World Cup, or is it going to be Sheedy or even someone else? Dan Carter went to a World Cup when he was well into his 30s, so there's no reason why not. But is he the best guy for the job? That is more of a question. Midfield is Jonathan Davis, Nick Tompkins, Owen Watkin, and Johnny Williams. I'm pretty sure that's the exact same midfield setup that they had the last time, so nothing really doing there. Always pleased to see Jonathan Davis. Even if he's 32, he's probably still... Is he my favourite Welsh player? Potentially. The guy's just very good at everything. Nick Tompkins, 25, 8 caps, has been a bit of a regular as well. There was even some talk about moving Jonathan Davis to 12 from Pivac, so he could be still experimenting. his first team selection will be a fun one to watch. Outside backs, Josh Adams, who I'm always pleased to see Wales fans love, even if fans from other parts of the UK seem to give him all kinds of stick. He's one of my favourites, maybe not as much as Jonathan Davis, but anyway. Helen Amos is back in the team. George North, Lewis, Reece Zammit. Is it Lewis or Louis? In New Zealand, we would definitely say Lewis. Reece Zammit, 19-year-old, 4 caps. Still growing at international level. He's been blooded, and he's looked bloody good when I've seen him for Gloucester. I don't know if he's quite reached that level at international level yet, but only 4 caps in, and I don't think that many minutes all up, so give him a chance. He's certainly got bags of potential. Halfpenny and Liam Williams. Liam Williams, despite his ban, which I think Pivac wasn't too chuffed with, that he got in his last game, but yeah, that's the squad. The average age of the backs is 26.5, so brought down a little bit by Lewis, Reece Zammit at 19. A lot of the other guys, 25, 26. Owen Watkin, Johnny Williams, 24. Jared Evans is 24, but there's still a few 30-year-olds. Halfpenny's 32. Jonathan Davis is 32. Dan Bigg is 31. Gareth Davis is 30. So there's a few guys on the wrong side of 30 as well, but maybe 32 going into a World Cup is the right time. But forget about the World Cup. This is the Six Nations. As long as it's going to go ahead, that's the Wales squad that's going to be competing for it. Johan Lloyd, I think, is one of the... I don't think they mentioned it. Or did they? There was talk about his defence not quite being up to scratch, so he's been given some work-ons as well, but he's certainly another exciting player. Bristol seem to like signing players of that ilk anyway, so still no Moriarty in the squad. I believe he's still unavailable, which is a pity. But as I said, you guys have got heaps of loose forwards in Wales, so there's still plenty to like about the squad. Is this a squad to compete for the Six Nations? Man, Pivac needs a good run. Pivac really, really needs a good run. I reckon it's pretty experienced for that reason. Again, there's a few guys, McLeod, Reece Zammit, Rollins even. There's a few guys who are light on caps. Some of them light on experience, but for the most part, the core of the squad is looking pretty experienced. But yeah, what do you guys reckon? Are the forwards, is the front row going to match up to the likes of England, France, Ireland? Are the locks going to be competitive? The back row, I think you got no complaints, except for maybe not having a couple of the young guys in the squad, and there's certainly a lot of excitement in those backs if it can be unlocked. But anyway, you guys let me know your thoughts on the squad. Guys you're disappointed to see out. Other guys who maybe missed out who are injured, or some of the guys I mentioned who did get dropped, maybe if they are injured, let me know. And yeah, how do you think they're going to Six Nations? Talk to you guys again soon. See ya.